You are on mute.
हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है, इसी में ही हमारा आत्म विकास समाया है. We have to keep our mind always in a balanced state. In this alone lies our highest inner growth.
Sir, you are on mute.
Audible?
Yes, yes.
So last time we concluded the discussion on yamas, all the 5 yamas and what the siddhis of yamas are. Sutra 39, we discussed aparigraha. Now the siddhis of niyamas begin. But after doing Sutra 30-31, we had barely touched on Sutra 32, which is dealing with the yamas. So before talking about the siddhis, we'll have to look into the nature of yamas. What is exactly, what yamas are doing actually and what role they are playing in yoga. So from that perspective, what is the difference between yamas and niyamas? That also, and what is the nature of yamas? That also we have to see. So the Sutra 32, it gives 5 niyamas: Saucha, Santosh, Tapah, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhana. These are the 5 niyamas. Now, as far as the spiritual life is concerned, these 5 are most important according to Patanjali. And you will find, as it is again yamas, and niyamas have been accepted, there could be more niyamas also. In a general way, lots of other discipline rules could be there, which are to be followed. So belonging to a particular sect, belonging to a particular system, they have their own rules which are to be followed. They have got their own recommended attitudes which are to be inculcated. But here in yoga, they talk about these 5 niyamas. So Saucha, Santosh, Tapah, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhana. These 5 constitute niyamas. Now, as the name suggests, Saucha. Saucha means purification. Purification, cleanliness, hygiene. Hygiene and cleanliness are poor translation. Purification is more better translation for. So purification at various levels of our being. Purification at the physical level, purification at the mental level, purification at the emotional level. So this is very, very significant. And purification has been a very important concept in yoga. So yoga talks about impurities and yoga mala. Mala is impurity. Mala is, it could be at the physical level or it could be at the chitta level. So even when we look at this chapter 1, there are 9 kind of antarayas. these 9 kind of antarayas, vyadhi, sthana, sanshaya, pramad, alasya, avirati, bhranti darshan, alabdha bhumikatva, anavasthitattvani. These 9 obstacles are also known as yoga mala. There are impurities in the path of yoga. They need to be addressed. They need to be worked on. Without working on these impurities, we cannot progress further. And then we have this very elaborate system of what is known as Shatakarma in Hatha Yoga. Shatakarma is dealing with the entire purificatory process. So Dhauti, Basti, Neti, Navati, Tratak, Kapal, Bhati, all these are processes, and these are general processes. Under their major heads, there are many processes, many techniques which are followed in Saucha. Then there's purification at the mental level, how to purify the mind, how to purify the thought processes. That is very important. So Saucha deals with this, and later on we will find that Saucha is at both the levels, the physical level and at the mental level. Saucha is a very important concept. We'll see later on that 2 sutras have been dealing with the Saucha, whereas Patanjali has been very conservative in using the words. In he's very miser in using the words. So why he has given 2 sutras to Saucha? There has to be some significance. So that is what is is to be seen. We will discuss about it when we are discussing these 2 sutras on Saucha. Today we will generally look at what niyamas are. So Saucha is purification at both physical and mental level, and it also includes food. Eating that food which is not causing impurities in the body, not causing any toxins in the body. And food and the drinks which person has, or the other purificatory processes which are involved, various methods are there. Simple method like bath is there. Taking bath with plain water, that is also part of Saucha. And the deeper processes are also there. Then Santosh is the second niyama. It means contentment, practice of contentment. Why there is a need to practice contentment? That is also a very important question which we have to really consider. But what does contentment means? When something we do and our aim is fulfilled and we get what we want, then our minds and our our heart is really filled with joy. It is filled with some kind of satisfaction. Now that contentment, that satisfaction which we get at the fulfillment of that desire, that contentment should always be practiced, and even if when the fulfillment of desire is not there. So whatever be our circumstances, in that we have to feel contented. So somebody may ask why, how it can be done and why it should be done. Again, there is a very valid reason for that. We will look into it. Here we are understanding what is contentment. Somehow managing to maintain a very peaceful, tranquil and contented state of mind. Because contentment is related to happiness. It is related to fulfillment. A discontented person, even if he has got all the riches in the world, he has got all the power in the world, he will be not happy. Discontentment and unhappiness, they go together. Contentment and happiness, they go together. So if at all it is our aim to be happy in life, then contentment is something, or Santosh is something which has to be looked into, and it has to be incorporated. So this is another Saucha, Santosh, Tapah, Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana. Tapah, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana. These 3 niyamas we have discussed in great detail when we were discussing Sutra 1 of chapter 2. When we discussed Kriya Yoga, Tapah, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. So this first sutra, when we were discussing that time, we had gone in great detail. I remember that we did not finish this sutra in one session, but it took, I think, two or more than 2.5 sessions to complete this first shloka, first sutra of chapter 2. So again, we will go into it. So Tapah is a very old process, old method which has come to us right from the time of Vedas. So during the time of Vedas also, there were people who can be termed as the original form of yogis and original form of yoga which was being practiced. So what they were interested in? They were interested in understanding the higher truths of nature. They were interested in knowing the entire universe. They were interested in knowing about their own life and their purpose. So such kind of individuals, what they adopted as a principal technique was Tapah. Tapah is the principal technique since ancient times. And our Indian mythology is full of tapas. So much so that I remember that when we talk about Buddha, initially when Buddha left his home for seeking the truth, he had done lots of austerities. So austerities also have to be done in a proper manner, and that we look into it. Any kind of austerity which is disturbing our bodily systems, which is causing any pathological disturbance in the body, such kind of austerity, such kind of tapa is not recommended by yoga. Yoga recommends that kind of tapa in which we are able to maintain optimum health of body and mind, and we are able to carry out all that sadhana which is required. Then that kind of tapa, and tapa which will enable us to break our old habits. This we have seen earlier, various aspects of tapa. Tapa at the voluntary level, tapa at involuntary level. There are opportunities where we can practice tapa throughout the day. Although niyamas are not supposed to be practiced throughout the day, but throughout the day, nature is providing us with lots of opportunities to practice tapa. So we are going to office and suddenly we get late, or something happens on the way, the train stops, or some such kind of difficulty comes. We get very disturbed. But at that time, maintaining that stoicness, maintaining that balance of mind, maintaining that steady state of mind, not getting disturbed, that is tapa. So such kind of tapa is also there. Variety of tapa has been discussed, and in that if you look at the commentary, they have talked about maun, maintaining silence, not speaking. So one may decide for 1 hour I'll not speak anything, and I will at the mental state also I'll be very calm. So tapa also includes mauna, kastha mauna, akara mauna. Two kinds of mauna has been talked about. So tapa is one very important technique and included in niyama. Then Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is something which we are doing right now. So what we are doing right now, it is Swadhyaya. So how it is Swadhyaya? We are studying a scripture. We are studying a scripture which is related to moksha, which is related to liberation, which is talking about the ultimate possibility to be attained by a human being. So that study of holy scriptures, chanting of the mantras, self-study, self-analysis, all these will fall under the category of Swadhyaya. So if we are doing any activity where we are trying to become aware of our own self, we are trying to understand our own selves, how we are reacting to situations, what needs to be done, what strengths we have, what kind of weaknesses we have, what should we do to overcome those weaknesses. Now all that constitutes part of the Swadhyaya. Repetition of sacred mantras, scriptures. When we are talking about this sutra related to Swadhyaya and Siddhi, we'll go into little more detail. Here we are understanding it in a very general way. And then finally, Pranidhana. Pranidhana is surrendering to the will of God, or recognizing that there is a higher power which is working in the universe, and maintaining that awareness of higher reality all the time, and not allowing our small ego to come into play all the time and blow everything out of proportion, and assume lot of self-importance. We are playing a role in this universe. We are not alone. We are totally interdependent. We are depending on so many factors for our well-being. All alone, we cannot ensure our well-being. All alone, we cannot survive. We are depending on so many persons, so many factors, so many facilities which nature is giving to us. So there is a larger process which is at work all the time, and we lose sight of this larger process. A person who loses sight of the higher purpose or of the universal laws or of the nature or of the God, to that extent, he suffers a lot. That has been the experience. That is why yogis recommend that Ishvara Pranidhana is one of the niyamas which one must follow. Now, you see, from this file, the list of five, Saucha, Santosh, Tapah, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, you can easily make out that in small measures we are practicing them. In small measures. But we need to strengthen them. We need to strengthen them because they are not strong enough in our personality. And another thing is, now we come to difference between the yamas and niyamas. What yama does, what ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, what they are, how they are helping, and what is the practice of yama. Yama is preventing us from acting in a certain manner. So from that point of view, yama is a don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. So you should not be violent. Practice ahimsa. Stop yourself from violence. Stop yourself from telling a lie. Stop yourself from unnecessary seeking of sensual pleasures. Stop yourself from stealing things and ideas of others or belongings of others. And then don't indulge too much in things. So stop indulging by reducing the material objects on which you are depending. So this constitutes yamas. So yamas are really helping us to eliminate those factors from our personality which are potentially dangerous and which create lots of problem for us. So if we look at a violent person, then if a person is violent by nature, then what happens to him? We can be sure that he will always be falling in trouble. A violent person, he cannot control his behavior, he cannot control his thinking, cannot control his anger, he cannot control his destructive tendencies, and as a result, he may do actions which are potentially dangerous for him. And not only that, in the detailed discussion we had on yamas, you will find all the ill healths and all the problems we have. They normally come from those kind of impulses and those kind of drives which are responsible for wrong behavior in the form of actions which are against yamas, and they create a lot of problems. So what Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, would call the yamas are there to tackle the destructive impulses in our personality. So whatever is bad in our personality, that can be controlled by yamas. If we have certain wrong tendencies, wrong attitudes, those wrong attitudes can be controlled by yamas. But then is that enough? Is that enough? Because when we are doing this, we are stopping ourselves from acting in a wrong manner. It's a good work which is done. But then there is a gap created. Earlier we were behaving in a certain way. Earlier we were behaving in a particular way, thinking in a particular way. Now we have stopped doing that. Then the question comes, then how do we think? Which is the correct way of thinking? Which is the correct way of acting? So if certain attitudes are bad, those need to be changed. Then we have to inculcate some positive attitudes. So niyamas are like inculcating and developing the positive attitude. So in yamas, the negative attitudes are controlled. In niyamas, positive attitudes are inculcated, developed, and strengthened. So both, all five, Saucha, Santosh, Tapah, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana. These are positive attitudes which need to be inculcated, which need to be strengthened. So this will become clear from an example. Suppose if we want to buy a piece of land in forest area, and we buy a big piece of land in forest area, what we do? After buying the plot, what is the normal course of action which we do? Obviously, if it is a forest piece of land, then what will be there? Lot of trees, there might be animals, there might be, uh, the wrong kind of trees, wrong kind of plants. So first we survey and then we try to remove whatever we don't want in that plot. If we are interested in developing that forest land, then what we will do, we will remove whatever is unnecessary there. If the wrong kind of trees are there, wrong kind of plants are there, which are not good for us or which we don't want, we will remove them. If the animals are there, it's a big piece of land, so there might be some insects, there might be snakes, there might be animals, so we try to remove them. We try to drive them away from that plot. Now, having done that, all the clearing wherever we need, if there is a, slopes are there and boulders are there and stones are there, and the land is uneven, then we will try to flatten the land by removing all the rocks and all the big, uh, things which are there, and we'll try to level it, or we'll try to give it a shape which we are interested in. So for that, lot of work will have to be done. Now yamas are like doing that. Yamas are like removing all that which is unwanted in the land, all that which is harmful. Removal of that is done by yamas. यम के द्वारा हम पूरा साफ कर देते हैं. तो अगर हम अपनी पर्सनालिटी को, अपने व्यक्तित्व को, if we compare our personality to the piece of land which is forest land, then it will have all the bad qualities, all the good qualities, and some, some unwanted things, some wanted things. All those things will be there. We are a mixture. We are a package of mixed attitudes, and in that now we have to correct. So correction comes from yamas, like removing the unwanted things from the forest land. And now after that, what we have to do? We find that we want to grow certain plants there. If it is for farming, then we need to clear everything from there and make the land very pliable and very soft. The soil has to be worked on. And then accordingly, whatever we want to put there, maybe if it is rice paddy, then we have to work more on the land. But if you want to develop it in another kind of garden, then we want to bring more trees, new trees we want to bring there, which we want there, which we have in our mind. So we want to develop that plot by bringing these new things. And if the land is uneven and there is a depth and there is a rise, then we try to flatten the land by bringing some soil from outside and fill that gap. That also we need to do. Same way, what is lacking in our personality, that has to be brought in. So how do we bring it? We bring it with niyamas. Niyamas is bringing all that which is wanted. So niyamas are those attitudes which are good for our well-being, which are good for our growth. So all these 5 niyamas, they are helping us in that. They are the right attitudes. So when we give this example, when we look at this example of the forest land, forest plot which we have bought, where does niyama will fit in? Niyama will fit in bringing all that which is not there on the plot, or if it is there, taking care of it, nurturing it. There are some small trees which we want, then we'll have to protect those trees. So what we will do, we create boundaries around the trees so that the tree can grow well. And not only that, now we have driven away all the wild animals from the plot. If it is open land, if it is forest, they will again come back. So what we need to do, we need to fortify that plot. So we'll make a compound wall around it. We have to somehow protect that plot. So we will make a brick wall or some other way. We will try to surround that plot with something through which the animals are not able to enter our plot. So niyamas are like that compound wall. They protect us. Through yamas, we have cleared everything, but unwanted things may come back. So they may come back from outside in the form of animals, or they may come from within our own selves, from those attitudes which are tackled through yamas. If they are not really taken care of, then they keep coming. So anything can happen. The problem may come from within ourselves, or the problem may come from outside. So when we are building a compound wall, we are protecting the forest land which we have bought for development. Same way, when we are practicing niyamas, we are bringing a wall around us, a wall which will protect us from going haywire, which will protect us from wrong behavior, and it will ensure that we are continuing on the right path. That is the role of niyamas. So this is the major difference between yamas and niyamas. Yamas create a gap, niyamas fulfill that gap. Because gap is definitely created. We can understand it from an example of a person who is all the time angry. And then he goes to a monk or he goes to a saint, and saint tells him that you have to change your behavior. So if he stops becoming angry, then he doesn't know what to do now, how to get rid of that anger. And the anger is not there, but his mind has to be filled with some other emotion. So what that emotion should be? He cannot remove anger and fill it with hatred. He cannot remove anger and fill it with fear. He has to fill it with the positive attitude. He has to fill it with the right kind of emotions. So niyamas are the right kind of attitudes which we need to inculcate. They are there inherently in all of us in small measures, but they need to be worked upon consciously. So Saucha idea has to be extended further, in an effort has to be put to strengthen that. Another major difference between yama and niyama is yamas are to be practiced all the time. As far as possible, under any circumstances, one should not act out of the or contrary to the yamas. So yamas are something all the time we must practice. We cannot say that I will be violent in the morning and then I'll be non-violent in the evening. I'll steal in the morning and then I'll be a saint in the evening. Or I will, tell all the lies in morning time and then evening time I'll be telling truth. This cannot be done. If truth is to be practiced, truth is to be practiced all the time. Same way, non-violence. If we are non-violent, we have to practice non-violence all the time. And then we also discuss Anuvrata and Mahavrata. There are certain circumstances when violence is permitted. We have discussed that. There are certain life situations in life where violence can be permitted, like where we have to defend our family members, we have to defend our country, we have to defend our society, we have to defend our property. And that time, if somebody is trying to destroy it, we can take recourse to violence. It is permitted by law. In the process of self-defense, even if a person kills, he gets protection from law because he has killed in self-defense. So those are the exceptions which are there given in the practice of non-violence, in practice of ahimsa and non-violence. But this gap which is being created, that is being fulfilled by the niyamas. So this difference is there. And although yamas are to be practiced all 24 hours, niyamas cannot be practiced all 24 hours. Imagine we like jalneti. All 24 hours we cannot do jalneti. We like sutra neti. Pura din sutra neti nahi kar sakte. So there's a limitation to that. So like that, niyamas cannot be practiced all 24 hours, but they are to be periodically practiced whenever the need arises. So Saucha has to be practiced periodically, regularly. Santosh has to be practiced when the need arises, when the discontent arises, when we are feeling very dissatisfied, we are feeling very disturbed. That is the time, or somebody is succeeding and we are failing, or we are remaining where we are. in spite of the best effort, in spite of lot of hard work, but other persons are progressing, they are getting promotions, they are earning good money, then we feel little disturbed, we feel little jealous, we feel little negative about it, we feel resentment towards society, we may feel resentment towards bosses, we may feel resentment towards parents, all the people who are in authority, we may feel resentment against them, we may get angry towards them. Now, those are the occasions when the Santosh as a technique can be adopted. Contentment has to be practiced. So, this is another difference we have to understand. Yamas are to be practiced as far as possible. Whatever is within our power, we have to use that to practice yamas. Niyamas, according to our need, what needs to be strengthened. So what needs to be strengthened in our personality accordingly. So suppose if we are weak in certain emotional aspects, we are all the time tense, we are all the time afraid, we are all the time thinking that something bad will happen, something we are all the time apprehensive, then tapa is the technique for us. And a particular kind of in tapa also there is a lot of variety. In tapa there could be a lot of variety, and one particular kind of tapa is responsible for removing that fear, removing that apprehension. So if that is the weakness of our personality and we need to address that, we need to strengthen our courage, we need to strengthen our strength, we need to strengthen our positive attitude of enthusiasm, then tapa can help, enthusiasm can help us. So it will be depending on our personality, what needs to be done. But these generally 5 niyamas are good enough to help us in many areas of our personality. And they can address so many weak areas of our personality. That is what Patanjali has suggested. So this is the major difference between yamas and niyamas. Having understood niyamas, now next time we will go into each of the niyama independently. First we will be taking Saucha. So Saucha, as I suggested, as I told you, that Saucha has been dealt in 2 sutras. First sutra is dealing with the physical cleanliness, physical Saucha, and the other sutra is dealing with the mental hygiene, mental cleanliness, mental purification. How they really help, that we will see next time. And maybe if time permits, we may even do some kriyas and see the effect of the kriyas, how Saucha is helpful in strengthening the mind, how Saucha can really create positive state of mind. Some of it can be even experienced. So let's see next week. Today, I think generally we have understood this nature of niyamas. If there are questions, we can discuss.
Niranjan, it is said that yamas are related to the outside
Word.
and niyamas are with
Personal.
myself, personal.
Yes, yes. Very true. That is another way of looking at it, because yamas are related to our behavior with others. So they are said that yamas are related to our external behavior and how we deal with the external world. And niyamas are more personal. We know what we need to do. We know where the weakness lies. We know where we are failing, why we are failing. So to think about it, to work on it consciously, developing certain right attitudes. If the weakness of fear is there, we become more courageous. We start taking more, chance, or maybe step boldly in certain things, take right kind of decisions. So it is much more personal. And other people, you see, why it is in relation to external. If we are violent, people notice. It is very visible. But if we are afraid, people don't notice. We notice it. We may hide that fear from others, but we know that we are afraid. So it is much more personal.
Sir, for removing fears, no, what kind of tapa means you told no there are certain separate kind of means tapa for removing fears
No,
or for
separate
apprehension.
techniques. Yeah, separate techniques can be adopted. Now, example would be, we all are yoga students, and when we are yoga, and some of us are teachers. One of the major problem area of the teacher is communicating with the masses, communicating with large audience. So many people are afraid of talking in public. So this is a fear that, I'll fail, I'll not be able to communicate, what others will think of me, they will laugh at me, what if I fail, what if I am not able to communicate correctly, what if I am not able to tell what I want to tell. So these kind of apprehensions and fears are there in the mind of the public speaker, and particularly a yoga teacher who has to teach large audience. So that is the time what tapa will work there. Again and again, keep doing that. Even if you are uncomfortable, do it. Even if you are uncomfortable, do it. Another example would be there is a physical weakness. We are not able to do, say, particular asana. Now, how do we master asana? If we just give it up, we will not be able to master it. So every day, little bit of practice, every day bearing some amount of pain. What is tapa? Bearing the pain. तप का अर्थ ये है कि जब भी कष्ट है उस कष्ट को सहन करके कुछ काम करना. We are bearing the pain of training ourselves. So if we are giving physical training to ourselves of performing asanas, asana performance, difficult asanas cannot be practiced easily. So we need to do tapa. We need to practice it in spite of all the discomfort we are feeling, in spite of all the pain which is there. So for example, Padmasana, it is difficult posture. But if you have to master it every day, we practice, some amount of pain has to be borne. So various techniques will be there. अगर फिजिकल वीकनेस को दूर करना है तो उसके लिए भी दुख को सहन करना पड़ेगा, तप करना पड़ेगा. कोई मेंटल वीकनेस है उसको भी दूर करने के लिए तप करना पड़ेगा, कुछ ना कुछ कष्ट सहन करना पड़ेगा. Even under the influence of fear that people may laugh, person goes and talks, then he becomes a very good public speaker. You see, Bertrand Russell, one of the best public speakers in the world, he has said that when initially he went for public speaking, he was so afraid, and his entire body was really uncontrollable. And later on, he became one of the best speakers known to the human race. All that is because of the practice, because of tapa. Any wrong habit, any weakness, it cannot be removed all by external help. The internal work, the internal discomfort has to be gone through, it has to be experienced, and then one can really shine, one can grow. Strength ko बढ़ाना है.
Thank you, sir.
Certain people, they have like unbased fears, but those fears in those people keep on coming up for some strange reasons.
Yeah.
How to assuage such people, sir?
See, for the same principle will be applicable to such people also. Most of us, we know that we can succeed in many things, but because this fear is there, we don't even start, we don't even begin, and that's why we are not successful. There are things we want to do, but we are afraid to move in that direction, and we are not. So unfounded fears are there, apprehensions. मेन तो ये है कि फेलियर का डर लगा रहता है कि फेल हो गए तो क्या होगा, लोग हंसेंगे, या फिर I will myself not like it. So these are the considerations, because these are the payoffs for which person is continuously indulging in wrong kind of behavior, self-defeating behavior. तो उसके लिए एक तो ये है कि अवेयरनेस आना चाहिए कि भाई आई एम अफ्रेड, इवन इफ आई एम अफ्रेड, डू आई वांट टू डू इट? If I want to do it, anyhow I will do it. Even if the fear is there, I will do it. When this kind of resolve is there, then person can really overcome it. Most of the time, people don't do that. They are not ready to look at the facts. They are not ready to discuss it openly. Because sometimes if we discuss it with a friend, that this is my fear and that's why I am not doing. Maybe our friends can also help, but we don't discuss it also. We don't want to admit that we are afraid. So then how we can overcome it? Otherwise, if the fear is totally uncontrollable, if the fear is so potent that it is coming into the normal functioning of the individual, then he can take professional help also. Today, professional help is also available.
Niranjan, Dr. Saab would always say, take up very, very small resolutions And when we take up very small resolutions, it may be as simple a thing as doing asanas daily, or it may be doing jalneti daily, or it may be going for a walk. So he was of the opinion that when we take up small resolutions, we are able to do it, and that builds confidence. And that confidence can help us to build more confidence. So instead of taking big resolutions, we should take very small, very simple resolutions. And then by and by that confidence increases. And the more the confidence in myself and in God, the less the fear and the more we can achieve. And I really like that idea, and I feel it works.
Yeah, in fact, that only works for most of the people. If we are biting more than we can chew, definitely we'll have to throw it out. That always happens. Nature teaches us that. So that invariably happens, and what Dr. Saab said, that principle is always applicable. Doable things are to be done. If we decide impossible goals for us, Tapah also, if we decide a person who is very weak-hearted and very weak-bodied, if he decides कि मैं अभी under some influence, he decides मैं 108 सूर्य नमस्कार करूँगा, तो he will be bedridden for 5, 10, 15 days. That happens. So it has to be always in small measures and the manageable dose. And in this also, one should not be very ambitious. Many people, they join Yoga Institute, they are in 3rd month and 4th month, and they talk about Kundalini. They ask teacher, Kundalini कैसे जागृत होगी? तो ये तो impossible चीजें हैं. One has to be really objective in assessing. So correct understanding of one's own self, correct assessment. उसीलिए स्वाध्याय जरूरी है. जितना स्वाध्याय करेंगे उतना सच्चाई पता चलेगी, जितना स्वाध्याय करेंगे उतना अपने बारे में जो सच है वो मालूम पड़ेगा. And then we will know what is the realistic thing we can do, what is the correct thing we can do. See, doing right things is yoga. As same way, recognizing one's own weakness and limitations is also part of yoga. So that's why they say you have to listen to your body. Even when we are training our body, we have to listen to our body. What are the limitations? How far we can go? Then we can succeed. Otherwise, there will be a little problem. Dr. Saab to
Niranjan, actually Rajkumar is talking about a person who is not willing and has no faith in the system, puts in no effort, but just negates everything that is dished out to the person. So what do you do to such a person? Because you can see the person suffering, but we can't help him in any way.
We can't do anything. The person who is not really willing to be helped, you can't help him. Somewhere that spark has to be there. Somewhere the person has to realize that he needs to do something. And you see, yoga teacher or guru can help only that individual who approaches for seeking knowledge or who approaches for seeking guidance. Only such person can be helped. If the person thinks that he is not interested in anything, उसको तो कुछ सिखा नहीं सकते, कुछ बोल नहीं सकते. So there we have to recognize our limitations. यहाँ पे तो कोई मिरेकल तो हो नहीं सकता है ऐसा कुछ. ये हो सकता है कि वो आदमी से कंटिन्यूअसली बात करते करते उसके मन में एक होप जगा दे कि मतलब मेरे लिए कुछ पॉसिबल है करके. I'll tell you about one individual. Somewhere in 1987, 88, 89, we had discussed about yoga. And he is a friend. We became friends in 1982. And then he has never practiced yoga. He will keep talking about yoga, but he has never practiced yoga. And then we both retired from the department. We were working together. So it's a very long association. And then after retirement, he suddenly said, I want to learn more. So he came and then he learned. And to the extent he learned, immediately the benefits were there. He realized, he said, I could have done it earlier. Now, you see, this is sometimes everything is available. If the person is not wanting to take it, it is difficult then.
So this person who is not willing to take it is suffering, and understanding he's suffering, understanding that everyone around him is suffering. Is it correct to say that the person's ego is very high?
Definitely, definitely. Our ego is high, or the problems are there, definitely, about his own understanding of the self, about his self-esteem, about his confidence, faith, total lack of faith. So all those things are definitely involved. And then our approach as fellow human beings, not only as a yoga teacher, but even as a fellow human being, whenever we are coming across such people, we have to be very empathetic towards them. We have to be very understanding towards them. We have to be kind towards them. We should not criticize them, or we should not take them that they are useless, or we should not do such things. But we have to be very empathetic. And maybe when we are good with them, when we are understanding them, sometimes there's a genuine difficulty. And if we understand that and we are empathetic, maybe the person will develop little closeness and he may ask something. And when he asks something, that is the time we can give the right thing. So last time we had discussed this. Dr. Jaydev always used to say about the teachers. People who are coming to you as a yoga student, they may not be necessarily interested in the spiritual things. They may not be interested in Purusha Prakriti or total self understanding or balanced state of mind. They have small issues like stomach upset again and again, maybe back problem, maybe the neck problem. So they are coming to address that problem which they are facing and which is coming into the way. So you help them overcome that knee problem, back problem, stomach problem, digestion problem, concentration issue. And when they have overcome that problem, that is the time they go into little positive state. And then they may feel that, okay, it is not only solving this immediate problem, but there is more to yoga. So they may ask a question to you. And that is the time to catch them and give them the right thing, to give them what is little better. And we have to wait for that opportunity. We have to be very creative in that. That's what doctor would say.
I think the just is we have to keep on trying to be more and more creative.
Yes.
And empathy. And
हर
empathy.
चीज में. Yes, yes, हर चीज में. घर पर भी, बाहर भी, सब जगह.
तो 32 years हो गए.
It is never
Also,
too
you have
late.
to lead. You have to not give up, and you have to lead by example. Na? You continue doing your own thing. Don't preach.
It is never too late.
That's correct, Premji. What you have advised is very correct.
घर में एक्चुअली एक योगी भी हो गया काफी है, लेकिन हम लोग वो नहीं है, इसलिए प्रॉब्लम हो रही है एक्चुअली.
ऐसा नहीं है अजय, ऐसा नहीं है. We again we say this because we are focusing on the failures. We are not really aware of the successes. We are not aware of the areas where we have prevented ourselves and our family from wrong things by doing some right things. Those are the contributions of yoga. Those are the contribution of right thinking. So we have to be aware of that also simultaneously when we are aware of the failures.
Sir, but with home people, no, we become more vigilant.
Because of attachment. Attachment hai to hoga hi.
That's why we expect that, and then our expectations are not fulfilled. So our behavior also speaks, no?
True, very true.
वर्षा ये मैं स्पेशल क्लास लेता था इंस्टीट्यूट में, and believe me, by the month end, almost 70-80% of the students will drop out, and next month another people will come, another will drop out. So ये चक्कर चलता रहता था, and I would not get bothered. But when it comes to my wife and my daughter, not practicing good routine, I still get upset. Not very upset, but I still get upset. तो वो जो आप बोल रहे हो वो सही है, like.
सर ने बताया ना कि we are test, and that's why we expect.
हाँ बराबर है.
वो अटैचमेंट नहीं जल्दी छूटता है ना कि मेरा हस्बैंड ने करना चाहिए.
Now, one more saying that was in Dr. Saab's cabin was, work is the best remedy for all physical and mental ailments.
Yes.
It was written in his cabin only.
Yes. He was stance believer of karma yoga. So he always suggested that you do selfless work and then all problems will be solved. Even karma, the action, the work also has to be done with the right kind of attitude. I remember when we were helping in the camps, and at the end of the day, when we will conclude, he will look at us and then he commented once or twice that, you see, even in spite of doing all the work, you should be joyous, you should be in a very good mood. If you are feeling tired and if you are feeling negative after doing work, then that work is not of much use. So work also has to be done with right attitude.
I remember about 25 years back,
Yeah.
I was in a state of depression. So Dr. Saab just said, "Abhi garden mein kaam karo."
Acha.
After I used to finish my morning class under Ajay sir, and then I used to just start working in the garden. 7:30 to 8:30 was the class, and I used to work in the garden. So there was so much joy. Then Dr. Saab used to tell, "Office nahi jana hai kya?" So really, that joy was such that sir, within a month or two, some depression वगैरह सब गायब हो गया.
अरे वाह वाह, क्या बात है.
So the entire kurta used to be in matti and everything. And once or twice, Dr. Saab himself came and said, "क्या बात है, office नहीं जाना, यही काम करना है." That physical work really helps.
True.
It completely transforms the state of mind.
Yes. Great.
So just one question.
Yes, Shiva.
So you refer to niyamas and you give the example of those weeds as something to be removed, some to be taken away. But if we see that ahimsa, satya, aren't these values which we have to imbibe also in us? So rather than being taken away.
Yeah, so ahimsa, by the name itself, it suggests कि हिंसा नहीं करना. So ahimsa is working against a negative attitude which is already existing, and it is creating problem for us. तो उसको अहिंसा की प्रैक्टिस से दूर करना है.
And satya, sir?
हंसते अभी हम लोग को झूठ बोलने का भी बहुत आदत है.
Satya. So we oppose it. Okay.
हाँ, तो झूठ बोलने का बहुत आदत है, तो उसको सत्य के द्वारा उसको शुद्ध करने का. और झूठ भी क्यों बोलते हैं, आगे हम लोगों ने देखा ना, लोभ क्रोध मोह पूर्व का कोई ना कोई अल्टेरियर मोटिव की वजह से हम झूठ बोलते हैं, कोई ना कोई अल्टेरियर मोटिव की वजह से हम हिंसा करते हैं, कोई ना कोई अल्टेरियर मोटिव रहता है प्लेजर का, खुद का सुख का, इसीलिए हम चोरी करते हैं, इसीलिए हम कोई चीज पसंद है तो उसको ले लेते हैं. और अटैचमेंट, ये मटेरियल प्लेजर्स जो है, बॉडी के प्लेजर्स है, वो तो इनहेरेंटली दे आर देयर. वो सिगमंड फ्रॉइड ने बोला, दे कॉन्स्टिट्यूट द मेजर फोर्स इन आवर पर्सनालिटी, दे आर इनहेरेंटली देयर. So brahmacharya is working against all those cravings and all those biological drives which are there. They are there in all of us. No exception is there. Aparigraha also, it's a hoarding. मुझे चाहिए, मुझे चाहिए, मुझे चाहिए. हर कोई बोलता है मुझे चाहिए, मुझे चाहिए. कोई बोलता नहीं मुझे नहीं चाहिए. ठीक है, leave it here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hari Om. Thank you, sir.
Hari Om.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That Ajay uncle and Swadhyaya